John and Sarah had what everyone called the perfect marriage. High school sweethearts. They built a life together from the ground up, brick by loving brick. John, a carpenter, had even built their dream home with his own two hands. They had two wonderful children, a dog, and a white picket fence. From the outside, it was a fairy tale. But as we all know, fairy tales often hide the darkest secrets. It all started subtly. Sarah, a freelance graphic designer, began working late more often. She'd come home smelling of a perfume John didn't recognize. Her phone always face down on the nightstand. When he'd ask about her day, her answers became vague, punctuated by tired sighs. He chalked it up to work stress. He wanted to trust her. He had to trust her. She was his Sarah, his everything. The first real crack appeared on their 15th anniversary. John had planned a surprise romantic getaway to the same cozy cabin where he'd proposed. He'd spent weeks preparing, even carving a small wooden box to hold a new ring, a symbol of their enduring love. But on the morning they were supposed to leave, Sarah was distant. She claimed a huge, last-minute project had come up. "I'm so sorry, honey," she said, not quite meeting his eyes. "It's for that big new client. We can celebrate next weekend, I promise." Disappointment gnawed at John, but he forced a smile. He understood. Her career was taking off, and he was proud of her. He canceled the reservation and spent the weekend tidying the garage, the silence in the house amplifying the hollowness in his chest. But next weekend came and went, buried under another excuse. The anniversary was never celebrated. The small wooden box remained in his sock drawer, a silent testament to a moment that never was. A few months later, things took a sharper turn. John was at the grocery store when he saw Sarah's car parked outside a fancy downtown restaurant. He smiled, thinking she might be meeting a client for lunch. He decided to surprise her, maybe join her for a quick coffee. As he walked toward the restaurant window, he saw her. She was laughing, her head tilted in that way he adored. But she wasn't alone. Across the table sat a man, handsome and well-dressed, his hand covering hers. John froze. He watched as the man leaned in and whispered something, and Sarah's laugh turned into a blush. It wasn't a business meeting. The intimacy was undeniable. John's heart hammered against his ribs. He felt a wave of nausea. He stumbled back to his car, his mind a whirlwind of confusion and denial. It couldn't be. There had to be an explanation. Maybe it was an old friend, a relative he didn't know. He drove home in a daze, the groceries forgotten. That night when Sarah came home, he asked her where she'd been. "Oh, just a long lunch with a new client," she said breezily. The lie was so easy, so effortless. It was a punch to the gut. From that day on, John became a detective in his own home. He started noticing more things. The hushed phone calls she'd take in the other room. The sudden password lock on her laptop. The extra mileage on her car. Each discovery was like a small paper cut on his soul, slowly bleeding him of the trust he'd held so dear. He felt like he was going crazy, caught between the woman he loved and the stranger she was becoming. He didn't want to confront her without proof. What if he was wrong? What if he accused her and destroyed everything based on his own paranoia? The thought terrified him. So he waited, living in a state of suspended agony, a guest in his own life. The love that had once been the foundation of his world now felt like a fragile sheet of ice, and he could feel it cracking beneath his feet. The breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. John had come home early from a job site because of the weather. As he pulled into the driveway, he saw a sleek, unfamiliar sports car parked out front. His blood ran cold. He walked into the house he had built, the house filled with memories of laughter and love, and heard voices coming from the master bedroom. His bedroom. With a deep, shaky breath, he walked up the stairs. The door was slightly ajar. He pushed it open, and the scene that unfolded before him shattered his world into a million irreparable pieces. There was Sarah, with the same man from the restaurant. There was no denying it now. The betrayal was absolute, a visceral, soul-crushing reality. For a moment nobody moved. The only sound was the rain drumming against the window pane. Then Sarah's eyes met his, and the color drained from her face. "John," she whispered, her voice a ghost. The man scrambled for his clothes, avoiding John's gaze. But John only looked at Sarah. He looked at the woman he had spent half his life loving, the woman he had built a world for, and saw a complete stranger. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. A strange, unnerving calm washed over him. He just turned around, walked back down the stairs, and out the front door into the pouring rain. He got in his truck and just started driving, with no destination in mind. The life he knew, the future he'd envisioned, the love he believed in, it was all gone, washed away in an instant by a secret that had been hiding in plain sight. The days that followed were a blur of lawyers and painful conversations. The truth finally came out. It hadn't been a one-time thing. It had been going on for over a year. The man was a wealthy client who had promised her a world of excitement and luxury that John, with his calloused hands and simple life, supposedly couldn't provide. She had been living a double life, one foot in her comfortable family world, the other in a fantasy of glamour. John moved out of the house he built, packing his things. Every object was a memory. Every corner held a ghost of a life that was now a lie. He looked at the family photos on the wall, vacations, holidays, school plays, and wondered how much of it was real. How many of those smiles were genuine? The pain was a physical weight, pressing down on him, making it hard to breathe. He had to tell the children. That was the hardest part. Explaining to them that Mommy and Daddy wouldn't be living together anymore, without casting blame, was an impossible task. He saw their confusion and their hurt, and it was like a knife twisting in his already broken heart. He had failed to protect them from this. For months, John was adrift. He stayed on a friend's couch, his work suffering, his spirit crushed. He felt like a fool. He had given his entire heart, his entire life, to one person, only to have it thrown back in his face. The bitterness was a poison in his veins. But then one day, while sitting alone in his truck watching the sunset, something shifted. He looked at his hands, the same hands that had built a home, that had held his children for the first time, and he realized they could build again. His life wasn't over. It was just different. He started focusing on himself and his kids. He poured his energy back into his craft, finding solace in the scent of sawdust and the satisfaction of creating something strong and true with his own two hands. He started building small, intricate pieces of furniture, each one a meditation on recovery. Slowly, very slowly, John began to heal. He wasn't building a house this time. He was rebuilding a life. He learned to forgive not for Sarah's sake, but for his own. He had to let go of the anger to make room for peace. He found that the love for his children was a foundation far stronger than any secret could ever destroy. His story wasn't a fairy tale after all, but it was real. It was a story of betrayal, yes, but it also became a story of resilience, of a man who lost everything he thought he wanted, only to find the strength he never knew he had. He was still John the carpenter, and he was building his future, one solid, honest piece at a time. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content. We'll see you in the next one.